Hello everyone, and welcome back to day 2 of my story by Big Daddy Weave. And this week, and this song is just a wonderful, wonderful reminder that our story, our purpose here on earth is to always point people to Jesus. I just find this particularly a great reminder because in the past 2 years, everyone's story has been remarkably different. We've all experienced COVID in a different way. Some of us have been really touched by the virus itself, and it's brought death or sickness or other things, and others have been really touched by or really affected by the lockdowns or the mandates or job loss or other things. And we all have very different stories, but it's a wonderful reminder that our purpose here on earth, our story, is always meant to point to Jesus. And I just want to encourage you with that as we enter into day 2 of my story by Big Daddy Weave. So today we will be learning verse 2 and the bridge. Before we get started, a reminder, I am left-handed. That means if you are right-handed, you're going to mirror my sign. If you look below the video in the description, you'll find a link to print off lyrics or other helpful advice. And last but not least, please consider subscribing to the channel. Okay, so great thing about this song is it has repetition that continues into verse 2, so I'm going to assume that you remember if I told you my story. So if I told you my story, we learned that yesterday, right? You would hear victory. You would hear, and then victory is a lot like 1, so you grab it and then you show a V, okay? Victory over my enemy. So over my enemy. So for enemy, you're going back and forth fighting, and it's a person, okay? Enemy. And over, you just take your dominant hand and bring it over your non-dominant hand. Okay, so we'll try that from the top. If I should speak, if I told you my story, if I told you my story, you would hear victory over my enemy, or the enemy, okay? So, and then if I told you my story, you would hear, and then freedom. So for freedom, you take X, those A-OK hands, freedom, okay? Freedom. You would hear freedom. That was 1 for me. So once again, 1. And then 4, you take your index finger with and then bring it out, okay? Or sometimes I've seen the F too. And if you don't have time, that's okay just to leave it out for me, or me, you can point. And then finally, if I told you my story, you would hear life overcome the grave. So if I told you my story, you would hear life. Okay, we learned that yesterday. Come into your belly with L's and up to your ribs. Life that overcomes. Okay, so take your dominant hand and bring it over with a fist. Overcomes. Overcomes. And then the grave, you're showing a mound of dirt. Okay, overcome the grave. And that's verse 2. Let's do it from the top. So if I told you my story, you would hear victory over the enemy. And if I told you my story, you would hear freedom. That was 1 for me. And if I told you my story, you would hear life overcome the grave. Okay, let's do it one more time. Okay, so if I told you my story, you would hear victory over the enemy. And if I told you my story, you would hear freedom. That was 1 for me. And if I told you my story, I lost my spot. You would hear life that overcomes the grave. Then it goes back to that chorus. If I should speak, let it be of grace that is greater than all my sin. Okay, and it keeps going. And then, oh, I love this bridge. I love any bridge where it incorporates an old, beautiful hymn. So in this case, it's "This is my story, this is my song, praising my Savior all the day long." So if this, you have your non-dominant hand out, this. Okay, sometimes I just see it like this as well, but I try to get my non-dominant hand in there, okay? This is my story, this is my, and then song, it's a melody with your dominant hand over your non-dominant forearm, okay? Like you're doing the melody, okay? This is my song. Praising my Savior, praise, okay? Clapping towards heaven, praising my, and then Savior, S's, Savior, person, okay? Saved person. My Savior all the day long. So for that, all, and then day is like this, okay? All the day long. And then that repeats. This is my story. This is my song. Praising the Savior all day long. Okay, let's try the bridge again. So this is my story. This is my song. Praising my Savior all the day long. This is my story. This is my song. Praising my Savior all the day long. Okay, let's try verse 2 and then follow it up with the bridge. Okay, so if I should tell you my story, you would hear victory over the enemy. And if I told you my story, you would hear freedom. That was one for me. And if I told you my story, you would hear life that overcame the grave. And it goes to that chorus and then that amazing bridge. This is my story. This is my song. Praising the Savior all the day long. This is my story. This is my song. Praising the Savior all the day long. Practice as many times as you need to. Also, you can go back to yesterday if you need help with certain signs, because I know I didn't explain every sign today if I explained it yesterday. Tomorrow, when you're ready, we are going to walk through top to bottom. So I won't describe any signs tomorrow. We'll just practice the whole song top to bottom, and then the day after that, we're going to sign with the music. I hope wherever you are healthy and you are well, and that you are just mindfully considering your story and hoping, I hope my prayer is that it points people to Jesus. See you tomorrow. Bye. Now to him who is able to do far more than we can ask or imagine, according to the power within us. God gave us the power to change the world. And I just pray that you go and show God's love this week, and we'll see you next week for another song. Bye.